Hello, we are live. Hello, boomers and Keerthanaa. Welcome to another episode of OK Boomer. Today, we are here to talk about the career mistakes that I wish I had avoided. I think between the three of you, that's what like we are looking at 30 years of uh, seasoned career in SaaS and longer than most people. And between O2 and I, we have like another 5 or 6. So, a lot of experiences and in turn mistakes that we made as we went through this journey. So clearly a lot to unpack, so much that Sanjeev and see whatever he had going, he was like, you know what, I really want to jump in and do this. This is something that I've been meaning to talk for a while. So we'll get to Sanjeev um, in a bit. I'll start off with Ashwin. Hi Ashwin, quick background on your career and then what do you consider as the most fatal mistake that
Mhm.
you made?
Hi. Yeah, thanks, Spot. Hi, everyone. Yeah, another interesting topic, another interesting career conversation here. Yeah, we've spoken a lot around what to do in companies and what to do at work. Yeah, again, for some background here. I've worked for almost 11 years in my career now, and almost 10 and a half years is with the same company. And I've done different roles. So, one of the things I did was at least experimented a couple of things that I could. But let's actually get or jump into mistakes or some things that I think, like now when I retrospect, I think I could have done. Right. One, like first thing is I didn't ask for much, be it either work to do or be it more compensation, be it promotion. I did not ask, like, and it's an inherent nature for me as a personality, as a person. I tend to think, eh, do the good work, and things will follow, and people will know, people will understand and do the right thing for you. It has worked from time to time. I'm not saying that's absolutely wrong, but I am pretty sure, I am 100% confident that if I had asked, I would have gotten more or been in a better place today, maybe. Uh, so one thing that I definitely regret, at least I am consciously doing in the recent past, is asking. Like I'm not gonna uh, think about what my manager is going to think or what my leadership is going to think. Are they going to think I am too selfish? Like those thoughts, I'm just parking it aside, and I'm not building a brand where people will, like, I want to come across as someone who will just do it and not expect things in return, right? So asking definitely goes a long way, and you actually tend to get more. Like, leave money is a byproduct. I think we've spoken about it in the past. It definitely comes even if you ask, but in general, more work, more opportunities, asking for that promotion, even if you don't get it, but at least the expectation is that your leadership knows that you want it and they set you up on that path rather than
Yeah.
not even talking about it.
So sounds like Ashwin read Oliver Twist sometime in the last couple of years. Please, sir, can I have more?
Yeah, I wish I read that way before, honestly, in the career. But not, like, one of the big things I wish I had known before or not done is not asking. Like, I wish from day one I did not care about what people thought and just asked what I wanted. Yes, you might get 2 out of 10, or at times people get 9 out of 10, but ask those 10 things. Okay, that would be my big thing. Have you felt this, Sanjeev or Shankar, or do you have something else?
Uh,
Your biggest one.
I think I've always asked, but I think in my one of my mistakes is not being confident enough, and I've been always like extremely self-critical of my work, and that leads to like loss of confidence within myself about the things I've done. Right? If you Now that I look back, I mean, when I look at my historic output, by and large, I've gotten many things right. But when I'm doing those things, or before I'm getting to do something or taking on a project, or whether it's a small feature, big feature, something else that I'm working on, I used to feel very little confidence in myself in many cases, or more like I used to self doubt a lot. Will this work? Am I the right person? Um, like, could I be doing something else? Is this the right decision? So I think it not just it, it also erodes the trust other people have on you when you expose that you don't have that confidence. So over time, as time passed by, given that I've been doing a lot of things, I've learned that this is a trait of me, and I've learned to like subdue it, or I try to ignore it when my inner voice says, "Hey, this might go wrong, that might go wrong." I try to tell it that okay, there's enough historic data that things have worked, and therefore it should. There's more chances that things will work now, and there's no point in like fretting about like something not working. So, yeah, that's what it is for me. Yeah, Sanjeev.
That both of what you said resonates, I think, as because I was also like last minute into this, so I was rushed into thinking about the mistake. The one that comes up for me is just taking everything too personally, which is I spent last 1.5 years I spent working for myself before I went back to a job. So
Hmm.
before that, I used to take everything personally. Where if I don't get a project at work, or if I like, not getting promoted is common enough. But even if, let's say, I don't get recognized, I get passed on for an opportunity, I used to take everything personally, and there was a lot of emotions involved, leading me to kind of stay up all night thinking about it. So, and it also drained a lot, and it didn't end well when I just let that emotions go on. Where in meetings I would be expressive, and sometimes like there is an internal joke where I would be on meetings, but then I'll be tweeting on Twitter, and then people will try to make connections. Okay, he's so that's why he's like tweeting about this. So did not end well. So I think the mistake that I wanted to avoid was not take everything emotionally. There is a business wrapper around a job. A job is important, but there is always a business wrapper, which means if there are decisions that are not going to go your way, and you just have to be okay with it.
Sanjeev, I totally resonate with it. I remember me coming to you with something similar of a complaint, and your first advice was just tweet whatever you want. Make sure you schedule those tweets
Yeah.
instead of publishing it real time. I think that's definitely one lesson that you learned the hard way.
Or you can tweet and delete instantly. So you
Oh
get the
yeah,
gratification of
that's
posting, but
Shankar's
others
way.
also don't see it.
Shankar deletes everything from WhatsApp message to tweets.
I'm too lazy for that. I think on the same lines, one more thing, like just a caveat on that, is also talking too much. So what tends to happen is that I get too excited about anything I'm working on and it'll go into details. So the impact of that is you don't get taken seriously. You're kind of considered like an enthusiastic kid who's going to get work done. But then if you want to be taken seriously, especially as you go up the levels, you have to know what not to say and not just like what to say. So that's also along the same lines.
I have a similar take like you do, Sanjeev. So it's not just about skills that you bring to the table, but it's also about the soft skills and the kind of brand that you build for yourself. Similar to what Ashwin also said. At the same time, I think what is undervalued is soft skills, right? How you carry yourself, how you have relationships, how you build relationships with people. It could be your peers or it could be the managers. What kind of confidence you build with them, right? That's what I could learn from whatever years of experience I have within this industry so far. Do you have anything else to add, Krishna?
Yeah, Sanjeev, going back to what you said, when you mean don't talk too much, do you mean it literally like don't overpromise and underdeliver? Like keep things in the wraps. Can you give me maybe like a
Yeah.
generic scenario or generalized enough that
Yeah.
people can't, trace back to what happened, wherein this really got in the way of what you wanted?
Sure. So again, let's take an example that is kind of relevant. Let's say that you're responsible for setting up a webinar, and you're responsible for there is a level of communication that need to have with your manager, let's say head of marketing, and then maybe like above that the CMO and then the CEO, right? Now there are like different versions of updates that you can give. For example, you can go as low as like I evaluated 10 different webinar tools, and like StreamYard is the one because it has like a pro plan in $20 under budget. That's one like level of communication that you can do. Or you can say for the strategy that we are going after, this tool seems to serve that strategy the best because like it is whatever cost efficient or any kind of MBA words that you can put in. So I think what I mean by not talking too much is what tends to happen is when, especially early in your career, when you do a lot, there is that temptation to communicate whatever that you worked on to everyone. So I think there needs to be some sort of level set in terms of what you communicate, what you don't communicate, so people take you seriously. So the implication in my career is that I used to be really good at the technical aspects of being a pre-sales engineer, which means that I used to write code snippets. So eventually, what happened? I was treated as like the technical person in the pre-sales team, which actually prevented me from being known as maybe the person with the most strategic mindset when it comes to talking to a customer, or the person with the most domain knowledge. So I felt like it actually worked against my case in a way that I was known as the most technical because that's what I was communicating constantly to the outside world.
Okay, so you're saying like don't align on a very single-minded branding. Like you have to be known as someone who can wear multiple hats at some point.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's conscious, but what tends to happen again, the reason I keep going back to don't be clear of what you don't want to say is because what you say is what is going to define your brand. So you have to be intentional about it.
Okay. Okay. I actually the second one that I have, right? I think it ties to I don't know who spoke, but you kind of mentioned one line, undervaluing yourself as a person. This is also another thing I want to talk for after not asking. This also is something that I like as a personality, as a person, your background and what you did early on in life kind of carries you into your early stages in career. All of us might think just getting here is a big deal, or just getting this role, or this person is giving me a chance to do this, so I can't ask more than that. Like this itself is a big deal for me, so I'm not going to ask more than that, right? I've been on a very similar mindset, or I've always thought that this is a very big deal and didn't even have the conversation after that, right? So whatever I get, I'm just okay with it, which is just underplaying myself or undervaluing myself as a person. Uh, Always know that the other person on the other side is also cushioning in a factor of negotiation, be it either HR you're talking to, or any hiring manager you're talking to, or even anyone in if you're trying for a different role, or even if you get any project for that matter, right? um, they always accommodate for, hey, there is some cushion where from a HR standpoint, just for an example, right? Hiring manager and a recruiter always has a cushion because they know the candidate is going to negotiate. They might ask for more. So if they ask for more, I'm going to give this. So the first one that you get is always lesser than what they can actually pay for the role. So think of this in a lot of real time examples and real time world also. Uh, yeah, when you try for something, don't undervalue yourself. Just keep, again, ties to asking for like ties to that not asking part as well, but don't don't be okay with what you get at the first shot. Like
I think
you
this is
are always worth more
especially,
than what they offer.
yeah, this is especially true for compensation, if not other things, right? We always think we are not worth the compensation that we are getting or we are going to ask for. So always ask like more than what you think, what your mind tricks you to asking.
Yeah. The worst that can happen is they're not going to give it,
Yeah,
but
They're going
they're
to
not.
think I'm greedy and they're gonna rescind the offer that they had in mind. I think that's like what is running in the minds of
yeah. I
people.
think offer situation is still risky, but if you're already in a company and you want to negotiate something, I
Right.
mean, there's nothing you have to lose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
And-
this. I like Sanjeev's use of the word business wrapper. Um, one
Yeah.
of the reasons why we don't do that is, hey, these are people that I have to talk to every day and have a relationship with. What will they think of me? How will that affect when I come off as somebody who's very demanding, when you could be asking for whatever um, you are worth it or whatever you have earned, but looking at things in a very business rapid sense. I don't know if he came up with that. Wherein, hey, I'm as a person, I'm still the same person that you have known all this time, but as for the work I'm doing, there are facets of personality that I will have to channel every now and then to get what I deserve. Shankar, I want to switch gears and talk to you about working in startups. Have you felt there was something that worked in big companies, but all of a sudden, when you try to do the same in a startup, that felt like a mistake, or the reverse could also be true?
I can't think of anything right now except the other point about org dynamics, right? So forget startup versus big company. If you're moving from one team to another, or one product to another, or one company to another, I think it's important to understand org dynamics, like who has what goals, what is the business's goals, what is my role in this setting, right? I think one of the mistakes I made is being too focused on my craft, sitting in front of my computer, reading support tickets, writing out specs, talking to engineers or designers, and being completely oblivious to what is happening around me, like what are the chess pieces in the coin and in the board, and what's the game that's happening, right? So I think that is core to understanding an org, getting the right opportunities, and figuring out what you need to do and shouldn't do. And I think early in our careers, we tend to focus a lot on the craft, at least I did, and not on the all the surrounding parts, right? How are people influencing things? Who is the influencer? Who should I influence if I need something to be done, right? Who should I not offend? Things like that. So I think I was completely oblivious to that. So I think that is key, irrespective of wherever you're going or wherever you're working at. So yeah, that's one thing I would suggest. Yeah.
I think yeah, I agree, Shank. That's game changer. Like I am little polar opposite to you, because more than focusing on the craft that I have, my interest is how a business functions. Like just
Hmm.
naturally as a person, I tend to just learn more there. So early on in career, like because of again the nature of the company, I kind of knew what each and every team did, right? And what their goals are, what at least what their focus is. Like if not for their business goals, hey, this is the puzzle where they fit in for this. This is the piece where they fit into the puzzle, right? So once you know that, it's a game changer about what you want to do, how a business functions, how you can fit in. Like, yeah, that's definitely
I
something each of
think
you can focus. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are nuances. I mean, there's two things. One, business dynamics, the revenue, the GTM motion, whatever, right? The product, and how do I fit in into all this? The other is people dynamics, like who has what goals, what agenda are they driving, rightfully so or not rightfully so. I think knowing both these things feels important. I think I think the first mistake we make is we know neither of these, most people or some people. Then we get to know the business dynamics. I think people dynamics for people like me is really hard. It was at least. So, yeah.
I think there's also another end of the spectrum here. Like one end of the spectrum is not caring about the business at all. The other end is just caring too much, which I think I ended up in at some point where everything I tried to tie it back to revenue, everything I tried to tie it back to like the next round of funding. And then like my manager had to pull me aside and say, you know what, this probably one metric that you can impact, just focus on that, see if you can move that, everything else will move. So the another mistake to avoid is, yeah, the larger picture is important, but then focus on what is in your control and what you can move, and the kind of knock-on effect will take care of the larger number. Is again, there are two potential pitfalls. Just try to stay somewhere in the middle.
Okay, got it. Uh, does someone have anything to add, or can we move on to the third
Um,
mistake?
I had
Three
something to
mistakes of
add
my
to
life.
what.
We have
Uh,
like 30 or 40, but we can only do three or
Oh.
four.
episode career mistakes volume 1 of 72. So when Shankar talked about craftsmanship, that was very relatable to me.
When did I talk
um,
about craftsmanship? Okay,
oh
the
my god.
focusing on the craft. I mean, stop. I mean, the words. I'm tired of the word being associated whenever I talk.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, we got thrown off by the fact that it came out of your mouth.
Okay, I
Another
meant the
mistake, not
actual
remembering
core
what I
work,
said.
not the craftsmanship. Huh?
Shankar is really regretting not able to delete what he said on a live stream, like how he does with tweets. But anyway, pulling the discussion back together, his point about craftsmanship is something I always struggled with, where I fail to understand what the business requirement of the work I'm doing is here. I have a feeling it's very common with marketers as well, people who generally pride themselves on writing and the art of writing. Um, the business really doesn't want the most creative copy or the most flashy, the most humorous in my case, to go out on the web page all the time, right? It has to be like a recipe made out of all of these ingredients. But at the end of the day, the dish you are going after is, hey, give me a line. Let me take the example of your H1 on a website, right? Give me a line where I don't care whether when I read it I laugh or I think the person who wrote that is clever and intelligent. What you're writing is for, in most of our cases, B2B software, it's for somebody who's an industry veteran who has seen software and web pages for the last 20 years. They need to understand what your business is about, what is the solution that you are offering. And it usually clashes with your purest way of doing things. And striking that balance was something that I really struggled, especially early in the career, because I was simply not grasping the concept that I was hired to do a functional job, not a creative job at the end of the day.
I
So
think, I mean, the way I was thinking about what you were saying, Chris Bird, is sorry, was someone saying something? Sorry, Keerthanaa, go on.
that's okay, Shankar. You go ahead. I'll go
Okay.
next.
Um, I think we tend to do things we like than what the business needs. I think many of us have done that, right? Because that's what we're comfortable with, that's what we know, and that's what we want to show.
Mm.
So I think it makes sense to zoom out, see what is needed, and actually do that, and not do what our heart says we should do. But the problem is in the fact that when you do this, you need to listen to your mind, and that's not fun, right? Listening to the heart is more fun. So you have to strike a balance. Sorry, yeah.
So slightly, changing the gears here. We are talking about what we want to do versus versus what the business requires. And because Chris Bot also touched upon being creative and all that, I want to also talk about finding a balance between craftsmanship and account like agility, like how fast you are supposed to deliver, a solution, your work, versus how best you can put it out there, right? So I think early early in my career, at least, I struggled a lot with finding this balance. I was always fixated on delivering the best work possible, like even if it's writing an email or having the right pitch. I always focused more on craftsmanship, so that way agility is something was getting delayed. So it took me a while to understand that, and eventually, the balance is what's needed at the end of the day.
Nice, nice. Actually, Kirtana, I think you weren't there. We actually did an episode of how to balance this craftsmanship and agility. There are a lot of details and examples that we actually spoke, I think, for more than 45 minutes. We'll actually add that episode to the description as well. I think it'll be helpful for you. You weren't there in that episode. But yeah, that's a that's a good point. Um, so yeah, driving to, I think, if we go to each and every mistake, we have a lot of details and examples, but we want to cover as diverse ground as possible. So I'll actually jump to one more mistake that I am still doing. I haven't corrected it yet. I just see this is one thing that also, again, for all of us here, for you and for me, you we cannot correct all the mistakes, but we cannot have lot of mistakes that we keep doing. Yes, as a personality, if there is something that, "Okay, this is how I am," I don't think you can change yourself a lot. But as long as you know and you're conscious and aware of it, and navigate accordingly, that's fine. So one of the things I haven't done yet, is building a brand, a personal brand for myself. Like, if not for the company that I work for, the role that I do, I don't think people know me. I live inside that box. Yeah, people who work closely with me know about me. That's how me and Sanjeev got close. That's how me and Shankar got close. but I don't have like people who know me for my work outside people who have worked with
Yeah.
me.
I have a
That's
feeling that's something it's a mistake you made up until last year and actively worked to fix that from there on, Ashwin.
I tried. It's just I don't think I've hit the spot on where I want to be.
What do
I
you
He's
think
think
talking
this
about
is?
our
yeah, yeah, this
our
yeah, yeah,
uh,
I know.
podcast. Yeah.
This is one place. This is the only place I'm trying, to be honest. And we have done what 2025 episodes. Yeah, I'm happy this is happening. But yeah, even beyond this, like again, the work that I do, right? The domain that I'm in. Yeah, I work for customer success and like sales org. Like I don't think I have a brand on that front, right? That's what I'm referring to. So
So,
build
how
a
do you
brand around your
think
work.
it is affecting you, Ashwin? How do you think it
Uh,
has affected you?
I would say opportunities for sure, right? First thing, like beyond my first network of people who don't know me, I don't think they even know me as a person to even offer me an opportunity, right? So that is one.
Yeah, people mistake you for alien is something that I keep saying.
I think I'm known more as alien than customer success leader. Yeah, like opportunity is one big, and that's big enough cost, right, for you to not build a brand. Um, Other than that, just networking, just learning from others, like being part of a network. You get invited to once you have a brand. Like I think Sanjeev can talk about the benefits among the group here because he has built that from early on. That's something I think it's too much brain work for me, or I am just like again I undervalue myself that I can't do it. So thanks, Bot, for pushing me into doing this. Initially, I was hesitant to get on this podcast itself, but yeah, I think I should do 10x of this. That should be a time.
I think that brings me to kind of an area where I feel like there are kind of not even mistakes, right? There are things that we think that we're supposed to do, but maybe they don't fit our style, and sometimes it's okay to also kind of go past that because it's just not worth. For example, for me, one of the consistent things that everyone tells me, especially I spent 2 years doing customer demos, that hey, you speak too fast, you speak too fast, you speak too fast, and I've just given up on trying to fix it because the moment I do that, my brain stops working. It spends half the effort in trying to talk slowly, which means that I just say random stuff when I'm talking. So that's a mistake that I know that I should potentially fix, but I've also given up on saying that what, that's just not worth fixing. So I think there are mistakes that are obvious maybe for others and even for yourself, but then you should also know when to go past it to say what, I'm just done trying to fix this mistake. So that's again an area. So in Ashwin's case, I think if let's say if it's not natural to you, and if you feel like it's a lot of effort, if you feel like you've tried it and it's not something that you enjoy doing, I don't think something that you have to go after. And I think the brand that you've built for yourself is still valuable, and it doesn't have to happen in a certain way that like kind of that the world has decided for us. I think we can just find our own unique paths in the way that we want to do it.
That's true. Yep. That's why I said each and every mistake all of us can't fix.
Yeah.
There are a few things you have to go past, but we can't be working with like 10 mistakes or not learn from the past. So that's the whole intent of like all of us sharing here.
So, talking about making mistakes, right? What have been the cost of making that mistake? Like, I know all of us make mistakes, all of us learn from mistakes, and we are where we are only because of the things that we have learned so far. But what has been the cost of making such mistakes, and why we shouldn't or we are not going to make it again?
I can summarize for the three things that I spoke, maybe, right? The first one, not asking. The cost is, yeah, you don't get few things unless you ask for, right? You're at times, yeah, if we don't ask for that promotion that you wanted or the role that you wanted, and you assume that the other person knows or the other person is going to give it to you when you actually deserve it. Again, a lot of this is competition, right? Like our corporate world is as much as I hate to say it, it's competition. It's peer to peer. Like you are being compared to someone else. There is someone else who's asking for it. So even if you are on the same place or if you're little better than the other person, but that ask might make someone decide for that person and against you. So not asking might cost you opportunities or things that you want to do, and you just assume that the other person knows, and they just might not know at all, right? Uh, undervaluing myself again. Um, yeah, you are worth more than your first, how much you think you are, or how much the other person initially thinks you are. It actually ties a bit to ask for it, but again, don't settle. Right, that's more of what I mean by undervaluing myself. If you think like if you think you can't do it, like, hey, this is not my cup of tea, or this role looks too ambitious, I am just 2 years into my role, but this actually is some the role that needs 5 years of experience in this, so I can't do. Like, don't undervalue. Like, every person is different. What you can learn in 2 years might be very different from what else can learn in 5 years. So you might actually be ready. Like, just undervaluing yourself might cost you that accelerated journey. Personal brand, I think we already spoke, so let me not repeat.
Sanjeev, do
So
you have
for
anything here?
Yeah, so for me, on like the things that I spoke about it, especially being emotional and kind of being too into the job, it cost me mental peace. Right? It's as simple as that. It's outside the job where I couldn't. There are weeks where I couldn't sleep at night, where I just would go to bed and then there'll be something about work that just constantly on
Why
my
did you
mind.
nap in the afternoon?
No, I was in meetings, so yeah, maybe. So there are times where I felt like I'm just exhausted and drained because I just went too into the job. And again, the 1 year where I spent not working at a company really showed me how that's done. So now that I'm back in a job, I feel like I'm able to do it in a more healthy way, where I'm not too into it. I don't feel as emotional at work as I used to, and yeah, I'm like sometimes able to sleep better at night. But I think the cost of just not taking it a cost of not taking it light is that it's going to cost you mental peace. So that's the learn the hard way, but maybe it is a lesson that you learn the hard way, but yeah, worth mentioning.
NC, I have a follow up for you because you brought up about your break. I think you're literally the only person here who has worked in a big company or startup and has run your own company through Super Meme. Um, has your idea of what a mistake is changed when you wore the founder hat in the year and a half you weren't working full time anywhere?
I think the biggest change for me when you work for yourself is that you are in control of everything. There is no forcing function. So the biggest learning for me is that there are some things that an organization has to do, which in retrospect that I might not have agreed with when I was working in a job. But then when I was working for myself, I felt that if you don't have those forcing functions, if you don't do, for example, it's daily stand-up meeting, which I used to hate, still hate. But then without that, you also find that things don't move forward. There are things that needs to happen for a company to move forward, and when I was working for myself and also as a bootstrap company, there is no forcing function, there is no speed. So things just don't happen as quickly as it's supposed to. So in that sense, yeah, there are some learnings and unlearnings when you work for yourself.
Yeah, basically, a lot of things that you were critical of, you had to become what you hate eventually.
I
Your
think
mistake was
fundamentally
the
what
criticism.
Sanjeev is saying about emotional attachment, I mean, we were all personally too attached to our jobs. That is the root problem, I think, for that emotion to show up. I think but we all knew people who were older than us who weren't that attached
Yeah.
when we are learning, right? So that's one thing. I was maybe a detour. Stop me if I'm taking too much of a detour, Chris. But what Ashwin is saying, I think instead of asking, you can actually negotiate. That might put you in a better position, right? So, as in, instead of saying, I want to do this, you can say, hey, I've done this, and therefore I think I'm good at this, and therefore I think I should do this. I mean, that made sense to me, but yeah. Uh, in terms
Um,
of, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I just had to get that out of the way before you moved on to another point. I think all of us have grown up looking up um, to the same kind of leaders because of the company that we came from that molded us. What I notice is these were people who were really attached to their job. I'm starting to think the distinction was how good they were when it came to detaching themselves. I know it sounds like the same difference, right? But I think that is where most of us fail to, realize when exactly we need to let go. It's not about holding on to something with a really strong grip. That seems to be the common theme amongst all of these aspirational people that we look up to.
Also, I felt that, I mean, at the end of the day, the cost is we are not moving ahead in our careers. I mean, for everything that we are saying, that's where the road leads to, right? All the mistakes, whether it's emotional attachment, asking, not asking, or whatever I said or Keerthanaa said. So that's what I felt. That's the ultimate cost.
Yeah, I think these are pretty much the broader mistakes we wanted to cover, and of course, each of us have made more than a ton. These were, I would say, high cost and pretty common mistakes we wish we avoided, or like at times, few things sound obvious, but like all of us know, like in real world, at times it takes more than the obvious to navigate all these. People who are listening, thanks for staying, and if you have made some mistake and if you want others to know, just share it in comments. Let's also see the different types of
Yeah, I
mistakes.
would also like to conclude with the cliche that Kirtana brought up in the beginning of the episode. You wouldn't be here if it weren't for the mistakes that you made. And in us doing us, the purpose is, hey, you don't have to go and make the same mistakes that all of us did at some point. So it's just saving time. So I think between us, we covered what 10, 15 mistakes. Maybe if some 20, 21 year old just walking into the corporate setup, they don't have to make all 10, 15 mistakes. Maybe they can get away with one or two.
Also, maybe add to what you say, Krishna. I'd like to, remember Body for a minute and his quote whenever I go to him for some advice. He always says the only way to move forward in career or in life is not to make the same mistake twice. You're making mistake is okay. It's normal, it's human. But you get smarter, you move forward in life when you stop, you become self-aware of it and you don't make it again. So
Love it. He'll be very proud of you. You can take body out of the podcast, but can't take the
podcast for your body. No, it's the other way around. You
I
can,
messed up the line, but you get
I
it.
yeah.
think that leads to another question. Most of the time, I've made a mistake more than twice, right? It takes me a while to realize. So the question becomes, how do you get to a faster realization? But another episode, maybe.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think
I think body
self-awareness.
always says it's about the iterations, not the repetitions.
Hmm.
Mm.
Thanks for that beautiful homage to body Kirtana to close the episode. On that note, please like, share, and surprise. Thanks for watching. Um, like Ashwin said, drop your mistakes in the comments. If they're too embarrassing, please reach out to us on DMs and let us know the mistakes that you made. And also suggest us more episode recommendations that we should be covering. We are the voice of the voiceless in that way. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, everyone.
என்ன என்னெல்லாமோ சொல்றான் வாய்ஸ் ஆஃப் த வாய்ஸ்லெஸ்